What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So I've been getting a lot of questions regarding the debt ceiling. Is Congress going to raise the debt ceiling? Are they going to suspend it, which means we can just go and spend whatever we need to? Or what's going to happen? Well, we do have more reports on that, and I want to show you some of these articles that have come out over the past few days, because this is really telling as to what we are going to see over the next couple of weeks. Just look at this. White House to use congressional recess to hit GOP on spending proposals. Well, what does that mean? Well, here's what's happening. The Congress is on recess for the next 2 weeks. They will come back on April 17th, and then, maybe then, they can pass a bill. But in the meantime, over the next 2 weeks, the White House is going to use this recess and really hit the GOP on what do they want to see. What are their spending proposals? Now, here's what I can tell you. Right now, we have a couple different negotiations. Well, we got a lot of different negotiations, but here's the thing. And do me a favor. Go ahead, hit that like button on this video to just share it with other people on YouTube as well. It just shows YouTube that this is a good video and they should push this out there to more people. But here's the thing. Right now, we have lawmakers that are discussing two different bills. Okay? They're discussing what we can do with the debt ceiling. Are we going to raise it, suspend it? Are we going to do nothing and default on our debts? The other one is, what do we do with the fiscal year 2024 budget? Here's what we know. Republicans say that there's no way they will vote to raise the debt limit if Democrats do not agree and accept the fact that we have to see spending cuts. Here's what I can tell you. Right now, at this time, Republicans want to cut $1 trillion in spending, okay? And what they're going to do, instead of introducing one bill, they're going to introduce 500 bills. 500 bills to cut $1 trillion in spending. Now, here's why this is so important. Look at this. White House rejects GOP plan to jumpstart talks on debt ceiling. Why? Well, because Republicans, they're working on a bill to raise the cap and cut spending. But here's the thing. President Biden has demanded that Speaker Kevin McCarthy produces a budget before any talks are to get started. So he wants to see a budget, which I can honestly, if there's not a starting point from the other party, so I've done a handful of not negotiations in the $1 trillion range, definitely not even close, not even $1 billion range, but any negotiation you start, you lose leverage if you start throwing out numbers. You want to be the last one to throw out a number, okay? Simple negotiation tactic. Let the other person talk. Let them spew information, because you can gather that information and then you can get what you really want for the best possible price. That's probably what the Speaker of the House is trying to do here, is get Democrats to give them everything that he wants, right? Give them all the answers, and then he'll come back with something that is not even going to give Democrats what they've asked for. Well, President Biden is going to do that, but at the same time, right, this is why we're at a standstill. But I do want to show you something else. Okay, look at this. It says Kevin McCarthy says Republicans will pass their own debt limit bill if Biden won't talk. Now, I can tell you right now, there's no way Republicans are going to get their own debt limit bill passed, especially being that they do not have the majority in the Senate. And they still have to get the president to sign off on it. President Biden is never going to sign off on a bill that is a Republican bill. He's not going to do that. Even if this would save the country, he's not going to do that, because this is 1 year before the election. He is not going to sign off on a Republican bill. Okay, that's not coming from me. That's coming from people that actually have a lot more knowledge and probably are within the White House. I'm not in the White House. I'm in Washington. That's Washington State, not Washington, D.C. But I do want to read you something else, because what kind of bills are Republicans considering passing? Well, here's what you need to know. I want to read you this right here. So it says, and this is actually from Business Insider, it says, the bill names included in the drop encompass everything from limiting funding for wildlife fire management to the Kennedy Center, One bill says it would put a limitation on availability of funds for independent agencies, Office of Government Ethics, while another similar limits funds for allowances and office staff for former presidents. Similarly, yet another bill seems poised to limit funds for the Supreme Court salaries and expenses. Then it comes down here and it says, beyond salary cuts, other bill names indicate that they would limit funds for everything from CDC programs to help prevent birth defects to the EPA's Superfund responsible for cleaning up hazardous substances. Several of the bills also seem to contain typos, including one to provide for a limitation on availability of funds for the Department of Education with 2 C's, Student Aid Administration for fiscal year 2024, and another to provide for limitation on availability of funds for Environmental Protection Agency inland oil spill programs for fiscal year 2024. Now, obviously that was a lot. Here's what I can tell you. Right now, it doesn't matter how they come up with an agreement, how they get to the end goal. The goal should be that we as a nation cannot default on our debts. What Democrats are asking for, and this is why it's such a big deal, what Democrats are asking for is just raise the debt ceiling without limitations. Make it clean. Okay? No restrictions, no contingency, nothing. Just raise the debt ceiling and walk away. That's what Democrats are asking for, because they say this is a bipartisan issue, because it's not just Democrats that contributed to this additional deficit, it's Republicans as well. However, Republicans say there is absolutely no way we are going to vote to raise the debt ceiling with pretty much no restrictions, where then we can go and we can continue to spend, because that's exactly what we are going to do. President Biden said he was going to reduce the deficit, right? He said he was going to reduce the deficit in the fiscal year 2024 budget. And did he? Well, the numbers say yes, he kind of did, but at the same time, he didn't. He didn't reduce spending. He actually increased spending, okay, by billions of dollars. The difference is he's trying to pull in additional revenue by taxing the wealthy. That's what he's deciding to do. So is this a way to reduce the deficit? Yes, it can be. The problem is Republicans are never going to go for this. And same thing from Republican side is Democrats are not going to go for their plans either. So at this time, the only thing I can tell you is we are still at a standstill. We are getting more of our questions answered, but the problem is as we get more of these questions answered, we're also having even more questions and concerns as to whether or not this is even going to get done. Again, we need to have an answer on the debt ceiling, most likely sometime in the early part of June. But according to the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she says it would be anywhere between June and September of 2023. So as we get more information as to where this goes from here, I promise I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.